Good evening to you all. Thank you for attending. No fire alarms tonight. Am I still obliged to read this one out?
I would refer to standing order.
I will refer to Standing Orders 413, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Okay, apologies for absence. We have had Councillors Eastman and John Davey and Emma Blackmore.
Maiden as well.
Well, I think he's due to come.
Right.
Timmy time, as he puts it.
He works until 7, so he sometimes finds it difficult to get home from work and here for 7:30. But he said he'd be here, didn't he?
Yeah, he did say he would be here. Yeah. Declarations of interest. I have put one down, which is the 0214 3 Beach Road East. Mike Wilkes is. I know him. We chat when we meet each other, so I'm going to abstain from voting on that one. Bob, none that I'm aware of. David?
Do you agree to give me voting rights as I'm not a council member?
Probably.
You're substituting for Councillor John Davey tonight, aren't you? Yes. So that's fine.
So that's fine. No,
So I've got nothing to declare in relation to.
None that I know of. And none that I'm aware of.
thank you. We'll leave that there for Tim, wherever he's going to sit. Okay. Moving on then to the Chairman's report, North Somerset Council Local Plan. I'll read you what I've got in front of me. North Somerset Council has made a statement online setting out how and who they consulted. This took into consideration the revised National Planning Policy Framework, NPPF, remember that, dealing with local plans. Having considered the response to the consultation and the guidance on transitional arrangements, the Council has decided to publish a new version of the plan for submission. This new Regulation 19 local plan is being prepared in the context of the current December 2023 NPPF and is proposed to contain significant changes to the previous document. This will include a roll forward of the plan period to 2025-2040, as well as other changes in response to feedback from the previous consultation and other issues. It is anticipated that consultation on the new Regulation 19 plan will commence in summer 2024 with submission for examination in the autumn. It is anticipated that consultation on the new Regulation 19 plan will commence in summer 2024. Oh, I should have wrote a line through that in the previous minutes agenda I had, because that repeats itself. Further details can be found, and there's a long a link, thank you, on there, which I'm sure you have on your agenda papers as well, don't you? Parking consultation and letter to Aldi update. On the 1st of May, the Town Council wrote to Aldi stores regarding parking times within the car park and reminding them of the covenant within the title to provide 2 hours parking for customers. This was following it being reduced to 1.5 hours. To date, the Town Council has not received a response. Any updates on that one?
So when did we write to them?
The 1st of May.
Just a, so that's been a month, hasn't it? So
5 weeks.
Yeah, should we send a reminder? Would that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
I was going to say that the covenant on there says that that they have to provide parking for 2 hours at a nominal fee.
Right.
And they've been providing parking for 2 hours free of charge. So if we push them on it, they could actually put a parking charge on it. But we think it's very unlikely that they would, because that's parking for their shop. And there's been a lot of talk about the car parks full and the shops empty. So you can understand maybe why they're looking to do it. But the covenant does seem to say that they should be providing 2 hours parking, and reducing that to 1.5 hours free does look to be a full breach of that covenant. So, and I think they've done it before.
Yeah.
And
Sharon trawl through the records.
yeah, one of the ex-councillors, Marilyn Coops, wasn't it, sent me a message to say that they attempted to do this before, the town council wrote to them and they changed it back again. So I think if we just send them a reminder to get that sorted. Hopefully they will listen.
I imagine that 2 hours is commensurate with other car parks, supermarket car parks around the town, yes?
From
Waitrose,
Yeah, so-
Sainsbury's.
They're all at
Little.
least 2, some are 3, I think,
they?
aren't they? I think there's the odd one that's 3
Okay,
still. I think there's Waitrose 3.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know the town councils always seem to hold a policy that they would like shops to have 2 hours free outside. So that's been in place for many years. Yeah.
Thank you. 4.3, reconsult on planning application 0415, 8 Manor Close, Portishead update. Portishead Town Council responded to North Somerset Council with no objection. Planning application 0394, 10 Fitzroy Circus. This was approved. This was the removal of the boundary railings and the substitution with a boarded fence, which we objected to on the grounds of the covenant. It got approved, slightly mitigated with the planting of a hedge on the outside of the boarded fence to soften it. But I wrote an email to the planning officer, which I've not yet received a response, saying that we had commented that our objection was mainly based on the contravention of the covenant on the terms and conditions of the property sale and the title register for the whole of Fitzroy Circus, which was part of the Schedule 3 restricted covenants by the transferee as the builders to the purchasers of the properties. So it contravened that, but as I said, I've not received a response, and I presume that the owners of the property have probably already grubbed out the railings. I don't know. I haven't been down to inspect.
Right.
So sadly, it got passed, and I don't quite know why.
I had a look at the decision notice, and they didn't give a reason for overriding. And there is a section where they should give a reason for overriding, but they've just put not applicable.
Yeah, you're right.
And there is no mention in the officer's report whatsoever of the word covenant.
No, there isn't. No.
But that was in our response to this, because I checked that as well, just to be on the safe side. So if we end up having to write to them again, I would just say probably point out that that we're a little aggrieved that they didn't put a reason for going against ours, and they seem to ignore the fact that this was a covenant.
Well, that's what I put into the email to the planning officer, which I mean, I should have perhaps copied you all in, but I didn't, on the grounds that I didn't. But anyway, as you may recall, there were 13 comments supporting the application and only 1 objection, more or less on the same sorts of lines that we adhered to. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
According to Facebook, they've started work on it already.
Ah.
So the whoever got the planning permission has started work there. So, and I don't think there's much we can do once planning permission's been granted,
I don't think so.
apart from putting an appeal to the Secretary of State. But I'm not sure.
Well, I did contact you when I heard.
Yeah, but it had already been made.
Yeah.
Then, and I thought, well, we may as well just review it here. But yeah, it just. I mean, if they'd have put in a good reason, at least we'd be able to point to that and say, great, this is why they overrode us. But they didn't even do that.
No, I mean, in terms of the covenants, I'll read you the relevant paragraph, which is part of Schedule 3, Section 9, not to remove, decorate, embellish, or otherwise change the appearance of or interfere with any planting boxes or beds, stonework, railings, parapets, columns, statues, and other landscaping or ornamental features installed by the transferor on the property or of the development. So that was, it was disappointing that the planning officer made that decision contrary to what we had pointed out. Moving on, the advisory Disabled Bay application at 23 Brendan Road. North Somerset Council has advised that they have approved this application, which was also fairly controversial because it got moved.
It's the one that had the level already there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So they've now gone and installed it in this adjoining bay, in this new position there, despite the fact that the number 23 has a rear access and a parking space at the back. So there we go. Public participation. We don't have anyone turning up.
Anyone online?
Just got one.
Only one thing.
She's just checking your air.
Good evening to you, Karen. Okay, well, I was going to pull Sage Close up to the top of the agenda, but I won't bother doing that now. So,
Should be here soon. He said 10 minutes late, so his 10 minutes is up already. I've not
all right, well, we'll just go through the minutes then briefly.
He's never
Um,
been here before. He's going to check it out.
Are there any comments on the minutes of the May meeting?
We can approve those.
Yeah. A couple of the applications that we discussed have already been gone through the system. 25 Coombe Avenue was withdrawn by the applicant. That's the one extending the house. 14 Wetlands Lane, prior approval not required. That's the one that we all slightly objected to on the grounds of it imbalancing the street scene. 35 Avon Way was approved, and for 1A Springfield Road was approved of the batch that we dealt with. So there's proposer, seconder. Thank you. All in favour of the minutes being approved? Yeah.
Thank you.
Noted. Right. Well, we'll wait then for Sage. So we'll go into the sequence then as listed. Aldi, which we've already dealt with. We
Yes.
dealt with it last month.
We did, yeah.
Air conditioning units on the
On the
roof.
roof, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not quite sure why that's cropped up again in our agenda, but we'll go through the process. So a proposal that we accept that one, and a second, I'm all in favour of that one, please. Okay, that's Portishead branch line, as per usual. No objections.
No, yeah, why not, shall we?
Well, I have got a comment on the second of the two, actually. Proposer, Bob, seconded, Roger, all in favour, thank you. 3 Beach Road East, right, 3 Beach Road East. This is the one Mr. Wilkes is. I take it, and you've probably all seen the plans, as being a bit of a man shed that he put up about 20 years ago down at the end of the garden, and he now wants to convert it into more of a living accommodation with a loo, bathroom and lounge, kitchen area, and a bedroom. So either he wants to be fully independent, or he has an elderly relative coming. Who knows? Who knows? So in terms of its height, it's quite big. It's bigger than the existing one. It's positioned at the end of the garden. You've probably all seen this. The current one is slightly down below the 5.5 foot fence or hedge, so it's pretty invisible. The new proposal will be about a 1.5 foot higher, so you will see the top, the flat roof. And it's 7.5 meters in length and 6 meters, isn't it, wide?
Yeah, 6 meters long.
So there's a question, and there's no parking provision, which of course I think has been pointed out by a comment I received. The highways and transport, North Somerset, they do refer to this because it has a bedroom and it should have a car parking space.
Absolutely.
But there are no comments online. But it's a separate dwelling in effect.
Yeah,
We have online on our little grid here how much. I mean, initially I put no objection in. I'm sort of a bit wavering in on it now, but anyway, I said I'd abstain. So where are we? Further comments in? yeah, no objections through all of us really. Roger.
Yeah, I was going to say it's. I have been down to see it. It's only because I pass there quite regularly anyway.
Come in.
Hello.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, it's a large plot. It's a large corner plot. That
Yeah.
one, and it's the garden's below the level of the pavement, so it's quite, and there's a sort of a thick hedge around it, I think. So it's quite well hidden from the road as that. But the only thing I could find was I read the highways report, and it says that it needs to comply with parking, and it currently doesn't. So, and I don't think anyone's really objecting to it. So
No, there aren't any.
I would propose no objections subject to it meeting North Somerset Council parking standards, unless anyone's got an actual objection to the thing itself. Because although it's quite large, it's in a large space.
But of course, by perhaps providing that parking space, it's going to then breach the boundary fence, wall, hedge, create a driveway and be more obtrusive.
But then that's the parking standards are there for a reason. How they're then achieved, then I guess we'd have to come back to planning again.
It's described as a granny annex,
It is.
but it's a separate dwelling. It's a separate house.
Yeah. It is in the standard.
That's surprised relatives. So yeah, there's a series of flats, isn't it? The tree about who's going to live in it, why it's being erected, and pick the front garden.
I mean, I must admit, me and my partner are considering to doing some sort of similar thing in a few years' time. I think it could actually materialise that quite a few people might decide to do this sort of things after a separate dwelling from their family home, and either hand the family home to the children, or obviously use the finance for renting it. To me, it's an opportunity, especially obviously if people are struggling with a living. So
Well, the garden rooms, of which we've dealt with on previous occasions and such like, where this one being block work, I mean, it's much more of a permanent feature, isn't it, than a wooden structure, which it's replacing, of course. But in terms of the planning for an annex, does the household have to give a reason for the annex being built? Which I don't think has been detailed on the application, has it?
No, I don't think any planning application we've ever had has had a reason. And it's just like saying if you want an extension or a conservatory or a loft room, what's your reason for it? Is that I've never seen a planning application come with a reason.
Okay.
Well, no, that's not it.
So would you, as I said, I'm abstaining from this one. That's not it.
That's
Oh,
not
I
it.
beg your pardon.
It's
Would one of you like to make a recommendation on that one?
So I proposed no objections subject to North Somerset Council parking standards being met.
yeah,
I'll second that one.
And voting? Well, pardon me. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can we bring Sage close up to?
Yes, I'm
Thank you.
happy to do that. Right. So good evening. I understand you would like to talk on the matter of the planning application for Sage Close.
Yes, if I may.
You may. We've passed through public participation, so now I'll bring it back and allow you to speak.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to make known my and my wife's great concerns for the planning application in One Sage Close. I'm Stephen Collar. I live at 12 Hillside Road with my wife Maria. And this evening I speak not only for the two of us, but also for my neighbours most immediately involved, or would potentially be involved in this planning application. I speak on behalf of Martin and Caroline Taylor of 10 Hillside Road, and also for Chris and Carol Armitage of 14 Hillside Road.
I just briefly stop you, Mo.
Yes.
So on the street plan here, you are next door.
Yeah, that's me. Yes,
And
that's
number 10
right.
is,
And number 10 is there's 14
Yeah.
and 10 is the coppice down here.
right,
Yes.
okay.
So we all look immediately onto
Yeah.
the property.
And the land is falling down, isn't it?
Yes.
Quite
Absolutely.
steeply, yeah.
The Taylors and Armitage would have been here tonight, but a very strange bit of coincidence. Martin Taylor is on business in Spain, and Armitage is on the first flight out of Bristol Airport tomorrow morning. But what they have sent to me is their written submissions to the council, which, if I may, I will leave with you at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Talking over the phone with neighbours, we have 75 years invested enjoying our properties in Fordyce and being enthusiastic advocates for all that this town means to us. We want to make the point that we have no animosity towards Mark and Yvonne Hunter, the applicants, but we are truly dismayed that having failed, they having failed on 2 previous applications, they now come back for a third time for a proposal which we believe in many ways is even more out of keeping with the existing scale and design of housing stock in the area. I'm not a planning expert. Martin Taylor knows a bit about it, and he's got a very detailed submission. On my personal side of it is that I was the original owner of 12 Hillside Road some 38 years ago. And since retirement, I've invested a huge amount of my time and energy into my gardens. I've been an enthusiastic supporter of Fordyce in Bloom and been very fortunate to be successful in 3 consecutive years in winning their prizes, including the Platinum Silver. This development, should it go forward, I think would actually make a large chunk of my garden no longer viable because I just will not get the sunlight that I need from the shrubs and trees that are there. And we became grandparents very late in our lives, and now we have the enjoyment of our grandchildren, and we will lose a lot of privacy that we've had before. Not only that, but in fact that having seen the original first 2 designs which were rejected, it seems to me that the architects in coming forward with their most recent design, the rear elevation, which is the one I and my wife will look on to, looks more like a very poor quality industrial unit. It's no thing of great beauty. So my friends and myself very much hope that when you do consider this application from the Hunters, that you will for a third time reject their application.
How have you found it differs from the previous application, which was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Well, we understand that they have reduced the building height by about 700 millimeters, but they've increased the height. And this laser design looks, to our eyes, even more out of keeping with any other the housing stock that's there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Comments from members?
Well, I think I agree with that statement, really. Because the design of the thing doesn't match anything that's in Sage Solidarity. I'm a bit concerned about the height of it. When you consider the original and what's going in, well, they almost added another story to the top.
Yes, yes.
And, I guess that's certainly going to interfere with you, isn't it?
Well, very much so.
Because it's higher up than you, they're looking down at you anyway. And I suppose, I don't know.
And so we lose the daylight, the sunlight, and of course the privacy with this. And also we're looking at something that looks, especially from that elevation, which to my untrained architectural eye, looks pretty ugly.
So from being next door neighbour,
Yes,
the reasons for refusal, the refusal reasons last time round read as follows: the proposed development, by virtue of its siting levels, massing, scale, proportions, and its proximity to the site's boundaries, would have an adverse impact upon the living conditions of neighbouring residents at number 2 Sage Close, number 10, and number 12 Hillside, by reason of overbearing impact, loss of outlook, loss of privacy, overshadowing, and loss of light, and number 14 Hillside, by reason of a loss of privacy. The proposal is therefore contrary to policies, and it gives a number of policies there. And from what you described, what we've seen, it's very unchanged, isn't
it's
it?
more the same.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Can I just ask? I've got a map up here.
Yeah.
Could you just identify which property is yours on this?
Yes, certainly.
This one here. So this is number 1 Sage Close.
Yes,
here.
that's right. Yes, this is me.
So this is you.
This is my garden. That's right at the
So,
back.
so
there.
this is, so you're the
I've
house.
got front garden and rear garden.
So
there.
you're the house directly behind.
Yes.
This is your front garden. This is your
Yes.
car. This is
Yeah,
your back
absolutely.
garden.
And
down.
that's the tailors there.
Those are the tailors, and they're
looking
sort of
there.
down and
Yes, yeah.
along. Right. I was a bit unsure because of the way that the roads were named around here as to
Yeah.
where it all went. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've got that. That's great. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
I think it was back to
I'm so sorry. I am fairly deaf, so you may have to shout at me.
and I've got a quiet voice, so I'll shout. I was looking at the application a couple of hours ago, and
Yeah.
at that stage there were no objections online. I
Right,
see now that one has appeared.
yes,
Are other people going to write in?
yes, you know, I have spoken to various neighbours. We know, I believe the 14th is the key date. Whether or comments have to be in.
So you've got time.
Yes, so we're doing everything we can to energise the people who have access to the internet to do them.
Second question, I was just reading the report from the developers.
Right.
And one issue they say is that rather than giving the gardens less light, the new development will give them more light. Is that just simply not the case?
Really?
That's what they,
Well,
at the back of their plans, there's they sort of list the previous concerns and then go through how they've addressed them.
These are the developers. Yes. Yeah. Well, I very much like to thank one of them because I really just don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. I would refute that 100%. I'd be very happy if it didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be here this evening if I didn't have that concern.
Further questions?
I'm just concerned on the point of that it's how to keep in with the area. I think the big point is that this is not Port Z Riviera. We are not a point of putting modern style houses in between houses that have been there for some 30, 40 years. And to me, it's a big point about keeping. We've had situations in the past where modern houses have been put on the Port Z Riviera further up. That's caused a lot of controversy. So to me, that's my point is, do we start having higgledy-piggledy of modern style houses sat in between houses that have been there for some 40 years?
Exactly. I think the other thing is the scale of the thing. When it's not, and I'm concerned it's going to set a precedent as well, which is part of your point, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, we've had this.
It's a very prominent site, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is.
It is, yeah.
And I'm just on that one point there, 111 Hillside Road, which is the opposite side of the road to number 1 Sage Close, has been developed out of all proportion to the other houses around them, to a totally different style to all the others. So it won't be the first time someone's proposed to do something that's not in keeping with the area. And when it's not in keeping with the area, I think it's incumbent upon us to ask whether or not it adds something to the area, isn't it?
I think not. I think it was Nor Road that was one of the controversial issues that we had.
There's a few along Hillside Road that have had quite
I think it's
substantial
regretful
works
with
done
regards
on
to
them.
that property there is that At the time, I was unaware of the planning submission because I would have made some comments had I known, because
But then Hillside Road isn't the same as Sage Close, is it really? We got.
Well, that one's the other side of Hillside Road, so they are
I know,
one road's
yeah,
width
yes, I
apart
know
from
which
each
one-
other.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know the one you're talking about.
yeah.
If you look at Hillside Road in itself here, you can see the changes that happened in
Absolutely.
the past. But that's what I said, you begin to lose it all. Right?
Yeah, but that in itself shouldn't be a reason to not do something. It's the question is, as always, whether or not the design that they're putting forward adds to the area
And
rather
the
than
reasoning for
detracts from
doing
it, I
it.
think. Yes.
Mm. So we're minded to object to this, Phil, on mostly those grounds.
Yeah.
Which I read out.
Yeah.
Which are very, very similar to the existing refusal last time round 2 years ago. So can I have a proposer then for objection? Martin, seconder. Bob, and all in favour of objection?
I'm going to abstain on that one. Thank you.
Yeah. Tim, it's in your ward, isn't it? Or is it in
No,
West?
Yeah, it's west.
It's in
That's
West.
mine, yeah.
Are you going to abstain on that one, Tim?
I was going to go object.
You should probably abstain on that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because this may come up at North Somerset Planning Committee, and if it does, you don't want to be seen to predetermine it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll both abstain, but you four are
Mm.
in favour of objection.
Yes.
Yeah,
On the
so
ground.
that's fine. Yes, no, we're fine. So it's objected to, but we've abstained.
Okay, fine.
Could Clark just read out a little bit for us?
Yes.
You know, the point was there, of course.
Can I take that forward?
Yeah, 40% for Somerset is important, is what we've done.
well, could I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for the hearing tonight. I'm encouraged by your support for the neighbourhood. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Thank you for coming along.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So if you just move the words around a little bit, that doesn't look like we hated it. Thank you. Okay, so 21 Winford Close, 0826, proposed erection of a single story side extension. Winford Close is down on the Brampton estate. The said property is tucked away at the end of a cul-de-sac, end of Winford Close. And the garden leads onto a little footpath. The proposed extension is very intrusive, in my opinion.
Don't see a problem at all with it.
No, normally.
No.
Do you want me to circulate these bits of paper here? You're already looking at it. Okay, I'll propose no objection. Seconded, Martin, all in favour of no objection, unanimous. And the next one is 226 Down Road, 0768. Now, there are two objections here on the grid from Bob and Roger. The surrounding houses are developed, larger, and this is a proposal to increase the size and develop it. You both stated that you feel it's contrary to our neighbourhood plan on the loss of the 2-bedroom bungalow into a 3 or 4 bedroom house. Do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, no, just I think it's really important in Holyhead and across North Somerset that we ensure that we retain properties which are accessible for elderly or disabled people, as there's a real shortage of that type of property. That's why it was put into the neighbourhood plan, to make sure that we retain that type of property and it doesn't get developed out, because you can get rid of the bungalows, but they're never building them back again. So once they're gone, they're gone. Once it turns into a 4-bedroom house, it's a 4-bedroom house forever.
Yeah.
And I think because we may have done this on more than one occasion, I think it's both PWH1 and PWH2 objective 08 is probably the correct reference for the neighbourhood plan. But yeah, it's in the neighbourhood plan for a reason. We degrade our neighbourhood plan by going against it.
I agree.
Ultimately, it's North Somerset's decision to balance whether or not the neighbourhood plan is strong enough to say no to this or to allow it through. But I feel it's incumbent on us as sponsors of that plan to continue to say we should object to this because of that.
Yeah, I agree with Roger. I mean, the ageing population is a very good point. As a country, we still are not nowhere near peaking point of age population. I think it's about another 20 years before we come to the peak. So this is essential. We shouldn't be doing this at all. We need to preserve as much as possible.
Fine. So okay.
There's a big bulge in the population
Yeah.
in 50 to 70 age bracket, I think
Yeah.
it is, and that's the 20 years you're talking about when they all, assuming that everyone lives a relatively long life, then there's going to be some real problems then, and this is what this is trying to avoid, isn't it? Or do something to avoid it. So I would propose objection on the grounds of PWH1, PWH2 as noted.
And Bob seconding
I'll
it.
second that, yeah.
Any other comments from members?
My only observation is do those concerns also apply to the property we've just been talking about, the Sage Close one? Because since that was last considered 2 years ago, our neighbourhood plan has come into being.
That's
And
a good
that was a
point.
conversion.
Good
Yeah.
point. That's a
So
good
so
point.
perhaps we should add those.
Can the clerk add that, please? Yeah.
I didn't raise it on Sage Close because Sage Close isn't a bungalow, and it isn't a 2-bedroom. So I think it's got 3 bedrooms and it's a 2-story, although only one end of it is 2-story. I did check that, but I didn't think it
That's
quite.
slope, yeah.
Didn't think it
So
quite
we're
qualified.
talking a small bedroom. So although it's a 3-bedroom, it's 2.5 sort of bedrooms.
Existing lower ground floor. Oh, God. It's tiny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely more than 2. That's for sure. Okay, right. So, and Coombe Avenue got withdrawn by the applicant, maybe because of it being raised on the same grounds. So, the proposed and seconded on the grounds of neighbourhood plan, etc. All in favour then?
Yes. I think
Looks
that.
like it's unanimous then. Okay, right, fine. Done. Moving on. And the next one is over the page at 49 Brock End, which we've already dealt with as well. This was the part 0955. The application for the proposed change of use of footpath verge to residential curtilage and the erection of new boundary walls, together with the remodelling of the garden. A number of neighbours were very much in favour of this happening. And the piece of land in question has been bought from the district council. So they want to put a wall up, and we said no objection. We're going through that again? No?
Yeah, I'll propose no objection if you want.
Okay, we'll go through it again. Done. Units 1 and 2, down there again. This is the 3rd time. 0931, change of use of 2 commercial units to dwellings, 7 dwellings. They have addressed that's the report. Goodness knows why it got printed out. I didn't do it at home. I think Sharon must press that button. So that's the report on the drainage and the reason why it was rejected on the grounds of flood risk assessment. So they've come back. I don't think we objected in principle. I'm not quite sure what they've done to mitigate on their third application? I think basically they're saying, look, you know, if it starts flooding, then the people will just move out and go upstairs. There's no risk
Yeah.
to life.
It's the when you're in a flood zone, isn't it? You have to be able to escape your property to higher ground, and these didn't have an escape to higher ground. And that was the issue. So if the flood waters are rising, then you could be trapped inside your property and eventually drown, and that's what it's to stop. It's extremely unlikely, because I think they say in there that even if the seawall gives in and there's a big surge, they'll get about half a metre of water there, which is uncomfortable but not deadly.
Life threatening.
But I mean, I think last time we looked at this, we were sort of, well, you know, we can't really see a major problem with it. So I'd say push it back to North Somerset and say we've got no objections subject to the flood report and mitigations being acceptable, and then they can. I mean, I went through the flood report. There's a lot of
This is a technical information. Yeah.
gump and technical detail in there. But if the planners check it and they say that that's good enough for them, then that's good enough for me, really.
I mean, another mitigating circumstance, which is not obviously on the plans, is the fact that the railway station will come into being, which could cause, you know, a different type of barrier in relation to any proposed.
I think they've
flooding.
also designated some upstairs spaces for them to be able to access in the event of flood as well. So there is quite a bit in that document that goes through the different things they've done.
I mean, this bit here, it goes on about overlapping of waves and doing a model, the success of still water being about 200 years. So yeah, it's really in depth. It's very in depth stuff.
But the fact is they've made changes. If North Somerset
Yeah.
planners think that those changes are acceptable, then I don't think we've got any other objections ourselves, have we?
Well, they wrote, Richard Kent said in December that the council also looked for solutions to enable the grant of planning permission and invited amendments and or additional information to submission be submitted to overcome concerns. So North Somerset are obviously behind this. So it's just presumably tweaking things a little bit.
Richard's retired now.
Rightio. Oh, has he? Right. Okay.
Do you need a proposal?
So I propose no objections subject to flood report and mitigations being acceptable.
Thank you.
All in favour? Unanimous. Thank
Lovely,
you.
thank you.
31 Hillside, which we've dealt with fairly recently, and I think this is a slight amendment, 0983, demolition of the existing detached garage and proposed alteration of the existing to form one outbuilding to provide gym and car parking en route. Erection of side sedum roofs and carport. I saw no reason to object to this particularly. Very stylish in my mind. So, anyone want to look at these?
I mean, it's a major detraction from what's round there, what was round there originally, but it's also in keeping with the sort of adjustments that other people have made to their properties.
Yeah, it's a corner plot, so it's a fairly prominent one on the
This is the one
hillside.
where the one next to it's got a turret on it, hasn't it? Yes.
Which I know is where Paddy used to live.
Which there were serious objections to when by the neighbours when that one went through planning a long time ago now.
Yeah, his name was Sally. Long gone now.
It was-
I used to care for the neighbours.
It was an architect who did the thing, and he planned it all clearly that he wanted like it to look like a seaside.
Okay, so proposal for that. No objection. Seconded by Martin. All in favour of no objection. Unanimous again. Thank you. Stage close we've dealt with. Phoenix Bar. This is a tweaking of doors going in. We had no objection to the previous application. I can see no reason to object to this one either. Just a question of an additional door in the in the extension. Any comments?
No,
No,
I'm
no.
more than happy with that.
Just another
Proposal,
door.
Martin proposing,
Yes.
seconded, I'll second. All in favour of approval, thank you, unanimous. And the next one is 319 Newfoundland Way, variation of condition. We've missed one, haven't we? We've missed, no, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
No, sorry.
No, fine, fine.
I thought we had another railway one.
Railway one.
Oh, the
Oh, no, there is
branch line,
on,
that's on the
yeah,
bottom.
there is, yeah.
It's near the bottom, there's a second.
319 Newfoundland Road. This is in fact the cooperative store down there, and they want to have the newspapers delivered closer to the shop rather than right round the corner where they have to go and fetch them by using a car. Because it's quite a long walk. I did have a map. Are we aware of where they're collecting it from?
I had to double take on this one because when I first read it, I thought they were knocking something down and building 64 flats down. It's because it harks back to the original
That's
plan.
right, yes, yes.
I'm Google mapping it, going, what's going on?
Now, my only comment in relation to it is what's this box going to look like on the side of the building? Because there's no detail whatsoever. No, there's no information about it. So I think we could note that. We hope that they don't install an ugly box.
I am looking at this and I thought I can't see any reason to object to it. But
Can we say subject to size?
well, no, but the environmental report recommends it's refused.
Right.
It says that there is no reason, they can find no reason to alter the original conditions.
That's interesting.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
Yeah, you got to actually read the environmental report all the way through, but it's in there somewhere because I sat there the other day reading it, thinking, why am I reading this? But yeah, it actually said that they can see no reason to the reasons to have the restrictions there. They can see no reason to lift it. So it was for the protection of the residents, so that they don't get out of hours deliveries. Because of course the co-op has flats built above it, and it is absolutely surrounded by residential properties. So I just think if the environmental report are recommending that there's no reason to do that, then maybe we should consider whether or not we want to object based upon the environmental report.
Well, if I could find this wretched map, I would argue that the current delivery involves the vehicle having to go through the car park to get to the said site where they drop off the newspapers into whatever receptacle they use there. Therefore, if they don't have to do that, does it therefore make it any different to dropping them off in front of, pretty close to where they're parked? Yeah, good, right, fine.
Shall I try and find the environmental report?
So they're having to go all the way around to that point there, which is up by the other side of the lock. Whereas they could just park outside and drop the newspapers off and turn around. The applicants own and operate a large number of convenience stores across southern England, and the majority of those have newspaper drop-off bins immediately adjacent to the stores themselves. Because they turn up at early hours of the morning. A large proportion of those stores have residential properties over or adjacent, and this arrangement is one that does not result in noise or disturbance to residents. The newspaper deliveries are typically made by a transit side vehicle.
Yeah, so the Environmental Protection Officer says this condition was considered necessary and reasonable, and there is no evidence to support its removal at this time. So that was her conclusion in the report. So
you can understand the inconvenience of the co-op members of staff or staff having to drive all the way around to go and pick up the newspapers at 7 a.m. So are we minded to go along with the environmental officer's report, or to convene and have our own opinion? I am of the opinion that, subject to its size and design, that it's not detrimental to the frontage of the shop, then I don't see any reason why it shouldn't
Agree
go
with that
there.
one.
Comments from neighbours of that, yes,
No.
absolutely. Are we confident that they will be consulted about this? I know sometimes it doesn't happen.
Mhm. I mean, Tesco's by me, they use a portable kind of device to put the newspapers in when they're delivered. It's like a wheelie trolley thing.
Yeah, I don't know what the notification period is on these, whether they've sent them out to every property there or just selected one or any at all. But what comes to mind is, if you buy a property and when at the time of purchase you're aware that there's a restriction on delivery hours, then changing that restriction would normally be quite contentious, and you would expect to see people objecting to that, unless maybe, you know, it happened during half term or something like that, when letters went out and people have been away. When did this one get posted up? 29th of May, was it?
Something
So a
like
week
that.
ago, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll suggest. I will suggest that we make a comment to the effect that they use a temporary trolley arrangement to assess the inconvenience or convenience of said delivery of newspapers, which they can then wheel in and out of the store at 7 a.m. and assess how it goes.
Good idea.
Well, that's up to them to get it. Well, maybe they just get nice soft wheel ones. Soft wheel ones,
You
like
know what I'm
like
going
a
to do on this
wheelbarrow.
one? I'm going to abstain on this one, because I have a suspicious feeling that that there may be letters from residents and stuff like that incoming in the near future. So
You mean with my trolley idea?
well, just with the whole idea that they're going to relax the opening the delivery hours. So I think for safety's sake, I'll probably, I know I will abstain from this one. I think that's probably safest, and you probably should as well. Tim, yeah.
Conditional on some assurance that they actually had contacted all the residents and residents were happy with it. I think until I was confident about that, and if it was only been submitted in 7 days ago, we're yet to know about the level of local concern. It would be a bit strange if we finished it. And then, subsequent to our support, 20 residents signed up and said, "No, we're not having this. It's going to create noise." And so,
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Including exploring the sort of options that Mike mentioned.
I've got concerns with the delivery hours issue. I used to live in the last house on Avon Way, right next to the loading bay for what used to be the sewage down the other.
Oh yeah, another one.
And there was a sign out on the front side of the shop: no deliveries before 8:30 a.m. I was regularly woken up at 3:15 a.m.
Oh God, really?
Lorries
Sorry.
not on the loading bay, but they're actually on the street outside my house, and they were throwing pallets around in the back of the lorry
Really?
and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that's
We'll
one
be
of my
quiet.
big concerns with deliveries at shops.
Was that cost cutter days?
That was Nissa.
Yes, it is. Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, it's a bit, it's a hard rocking place really, because we're all aware that obviously newspapers and magazines are deteriorating very, very rapidly. We are in a digital world. The chances are within probably the next 5 years that most newspapers will be all online. So you'll be reading it from your phone or your tablet. So that's one thing. Have we actually got a visual of this box? Do we know what it's going to be made of?
No, there isn't.
No.
So
There's
that's,
no information, is there?
so if we are going to look at or delay this, or can we delay it? Can we hold it back? and try and get some more information.
I know something that's directly above that shop as well.
Hmm.
I could always drop them a message and see if they've had a better.
chance to
Yeah,
resolve.
that's what I'm thinking.
I think
We could
Right.
ask North Somerset to delay any decisions made on it until investigations have been carried out,
Yeah.
because you don't have much information there to make a fair
Right,
decision
choice
one way or
And
the
I think
other.
that's the problem. We don't know. We've got no idea how big the box is. I mean, you know, if you
how bulky the delivery.
yeah, how the bulky delivery, you know, how because the trouble is obviously with magazines that there's a multitude of ways that they come in. It's not just papers and magazines. You have like sports cards and things like that. That all becomes added to the bundle. I think the White Cart have had a new bin in place, but that's only like a slide shutter one, which is probably, I don't know, about 4 foot long. So it's only a small one, but the co-op I should suspect is going to be a lot bigger.
So when they built this co-op, they put these restrictions in place. Yeah, when they built Sainsbury's, they put a number of restrictions in place. And remember how we all felt when we found out that somebody somewhere in a previous council had decided to discharge all those conditions so that they could then put something in there that we would have previously been able to object to. So I think we should be very wary of changing conditions which were set out at the outset. And I think North Somerset probably are being very wary of that by the looks of things. But yeah, as I say, I'm not going to vote on this one because I do think that it could be quite contentious later on.
I don't think any of us are going to be voting on it. I think we're just going to defer it. Defer it for further information and
think so,
make
yeah.
sure the residents have been informed. Check out where the old box is,
Yeah.
the current box.
And the size of anything that's likely to be
Yeah,
new.
exactly.
So can we
So,
have is there a chance that we can have an image or an understanding of
Yeah.
how big this is going to be? Yeah,
Right.
an opportunity for the residents to.
There is very little information
I mean,
here,
it's
isn't
like-
there?
Mm,
You happy about that, Wendy?
yeah, that's fine.
Good. Okay, so late planning applications, the first of which is 0969 23 Wood Hill Road. That's felling of a holly tree. This is within the conservation area. And if you look at the tree, it's very spindly.
Are you on late
Quite tall.
applications?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Did we not do Woodhill Park on the Poison Branch
that's-
Line
That's
application
coming up.
too?
They're coming up.
Oh, they're late ones as well, are they?
Yeah.
With you, right? They're just on my normal sheet.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just going through them in order.
Apologies.
That's all right. Apologies accepted.
It's
23 Wood Hill.
So I've got a conflict of interest, I used to live next door.
Okay.
I know the person who would have applied for it. I remember the holly tree very well.
Right. Would you agree it's rather spindly and quite
Haven't
tall?
seen it in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's as tall as a lamppost.
It's a big tree. Yeah.
Hmm.
Right, and then.
Well, it's big in height. It's not very bushy by the look of it.
And it pushes out into the road, and what I remember, it needs trimming back, so pathway gets obstructed.
Well, they want to fell it. And it is very close to the lamp standard and very close to the wall. Do you want to note it on the,
They were claiming damage to the foundations of the wall, I think. weren't
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
It's a big tree.
no objection. Poser, seconded, Martin or Roger. All in favour, no objection. You're abstaining, David? Okay. Sally Hill, we pass over because we're not consultees. 7 Wood Hill Park. So this one is tucked at the end of the cul-de-sac. We dealt with one, I think it might, in the first planning meeting at the other end of the estate. And I don't have a particular objection to it. I don't think it changes the appearance of the property too badly. The rear extension has solar panels attached to it. Other comments from?
When I first moved to Portishead,
Oh, you lived up there,
at
didn't
the
you?
age of 7, I lived in number 8 Woodhill Park,
Mm.
next door to this one.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know anybody who lives up there anymore. I think most of them have moved away or passed away, one or the other. It was a long time ago now. But so many of the properties have been extended up there. They were big bungalows anyway, and the odd one or two's had like another floor put on, but most of them have gone out to the side and backwards as well. And this just seems to be in line with everything else that's happening. In fact, much less than some of the others that are up there.
So yeah, compared to Sage Close, this is a tasteful development in my opinion.
Yeah, quite.
And you and I went round to the previous one, didn't we?
Good.
And talked to the owners. And it's not dissimilar. Proposer for that one? No objection.
Propose it then.
Martin, seconded by Roger. Bob, all in favour? Yep, fine. And then the last one, I think. Let's see. Railway again. No, it's not. It's another. Oh yeah, yeah. Last one. Well, this one actually is a little bit more. Not complicated, but it's going to happen. It's got to happen, but it's very disruptive to pedestrians, cyclists, and horses because they have to make this detour all the way through Pill, Eastern Gordano and Pill, which no doubt will last for a year or more. Anyway, it is what it is.
I had, even before this happened, I've had letters from people who use the cycle path because the cycle path goes along the railway track and crosses the railway track in a couple of places. So that's a bit of an issue. And I'm expecting more letters when this one hits as well, because it's going to close off the access there, and
it closes it off.
And I think they're going to put an alternate route in for them. Although how they're going to achieve that, your guess is as good as mine.
You get diverted onto Marsh Lane and just have to use Marsh Lane and then through Eastern Gordano. So yeah, it's some of them are residential roads.
Alternative route, probably not conducive for cycling down, is what we're saying.
Exactly.
I mean, what can you do? The cycle path crosses the railway track.
Technically, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It sort of it goes alongside it or over the top of it, so they could move it.
Yeah, no, there's
but they don't want to. It's too inconvenient.
The people who wrote to me say it actually crosses the track in a couple of places. So I don't know whether they've just got their own informal cycle route across that, but all of that needs to be sorted out when they're doing the railway track, and this has to be closed because they're putting HGVs and tons and tons and tons and tons of gravel down there. So it's not going to be conducive for anyone to use.
No, you're quite right, Roger. No, I'm not objecting. I'm just saying it will inconvenience.
And I'm sure we'll get objections.
I used to cycle into Bristol was by going over the footbridge, over the Portbury Hundreds into Portbury, turn left, and then cross onto the A369. And quite a lot of that now is got cycle lanes on it, but I think the stretch from where the road out of Portbury hits the A369 hasn't. So I guess one thing you could ask for is for the duration of this work, that bit of the road.
It won't be using it. It won't be using it. It will still go around the car compounds as far as Marsh Lane. Then it'll go over Marsh Lane Bridge and through Eastern Gordano.
Can you not suggest? I was just thinking that could be suggested to cyclists as an alternative route, particularly if that was made safer, because you could then join the cycle path through.
Well, how would you? Between Portbury, leaving Portbury Village, and the A369, it's busy road, and the hedges both sides, and I can't see how you would possibly get. There's not even a footway there, is there? So people get off the bus on the Gordano services stop and have to walk down the main road.
This track runs round the edge of the car compounds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which keeps people on the Poised side of the railway track and the Poised side of the Portbury 100, which is a lot safer that way, except for until you get to Marsh Lane, where you're going to have to take probably quite some detour, isn't it? Because then you're going to have to end up into Lodway and Pill to get back down to the Avonmouth Bridge. Yeah,
exactly. Which they're closing for 6 months next year, Avonmouth Bridge, to pedestrians.
The whole
No. They're redoing the railings. and they're thinking of reopening Pill Ferry for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, which should be interesting.
Go on it just for
Yes, exactly.
fun. You know,
Yeah, you used to go across there with your bike on your shoulder to go to Shirehampton Pool. At low tide, it wasn't fun. So 9.1 on the agenda, just for PAG to note. 4 items there, which I won't go through. And then decisions from North Somerset Council, list thereof. Information held by office, item 9.3, nothing. And then item 11, date of next meeting, Wednesday, the 3rd of July. So at 26 minutes to 9, meeting closed.